Today, I'm here to give you the current status of my reading life, including an update on my Read My Shelves challenge, a little bit of a reading slump that I went through in March, and how that helped me find 3 tips to read better, not more. Friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life, and welcome to a little bit of a chatty update on the current status of my reading life, which sounds very fancy, but really I'm just here to talk about what's going on with me in terms of how I'm reading these days, share with you a little bit of a slump that I went through this past month, and give you an update on where I currently am in my Read My Shelves challenge. And then stay tuned to the end because I have 3 tips to help you read better, not just read more. And I hope these will help you, and they are things you can easily implement into your own reading life. So grab a cuppa and let us get into my reading life. I'm going to start off today's video by sharing the stats of where I am in my Read My Shelves challenge for 2025. If you haven't seen the video where I shared that I was going to be doing this Read My Shelves challenge this year, I will link that in the cards and in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. Anyone is welcome to join along in reading your shelves, and you can consider this your first quarter check-in if you'd like to share with me in the comments how your Read My Shelves challenge is going this year. My Read My Shelves challenge has some positive things happening and some maybe less than positive things happening. Overall, I am really pretty happy with how things are going so far, and I thought I would start off and just give you some stats about my Read My Shelves. So my starting number for reading my shelves, the number of unread books that I had as of January 1 was 692 books. That's a lot of books. So far, I have read 31 of those books. I have unhauled 3 books where I tried a chapter and then decided I don't want to read those books anymore, and so I have unhauled them. You can check out my try a chapter video, which was just posted last week. I will again link that in the cards and in the description box. And then after I did that try a chapter unhaul, I was just really feeling motivated to remove some books from my shelves. I will talk about why I was motivated to do this a little bit later in the video, but I then unhauled 14 additional books. In total, I have unhauled 17 books off of my shelves, and I've said goodbye to them and sent them off into the world for somebody else to read and love. As a result of the books I have both read and unhauled, my current unread books number is 644. Making progress. Progress, not perfection, is what we are looking for here. In addition to tracking the books on my unread shelves that I am both reading and unhauling, I also wanted to keep track of the books I am purchasing this year so that I'm not just adding them to my unread shelves number, but hopefully I'm going to purchase them and then read them this year. Hopefully within the first month or so, though I am a bit behind in this, but that's okay. That is okay. But the number of books I've purchased so far this year is 13. I have read, of those 13, 4 books so far, and I am currently in the middle of reading 2 of those books. So when I finish those, I will have read 6 of the 13, which means I will have 7 left to go. These are both books that I purchased myself. They are also books that people gifted to me. So any book that is coming into my life that I have not read, now if I have read it already and I'm just buying a copy for my shelves, then those don't count because they aren't going towards my unread count. And that's really what this challenge is all about, is getting that unread book count number down as much as possible. Hopefully to below the number of read books that I have on my shelves. That would be lovely, though. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but at least I'll make some progress toward that goal. I have a few other stats that I've been tracking as part of reading my shelves this year, and one of them was, if you see behind me on this top shelf, I have all the books that I pulled for my 25 and 2025 books that I wanted to read this year. Again, that's another video. If you'd like to check that out, I will link it here for you. And of those 25 books, I have read or unhauled 6 of them so far. So I have 19 still to go, but of those 19, I'm actually currently in the middle of 3 of them. So I'm feeling pretty good about how I'm doing on my 25 and 2025 books. Again, those are all books that I've had on my shelves. I picked them because I've owned them since before 2019. So they're all books that I've had for quite some time. Some of them I've already DNF'd. That's okay. That's the whole purpose of this, is either to read and love these books or to get rid of books that I no longer am interested in reading. So I'm okay with DNFing. I also set a goal for myself that I wanted to read a Kindle book a month so that I could get at least 12 books off of my unread Kindle books read. And so far, actually, I am ahead of the game. I have read 6 books on my Kindle this year. Some of them I didn't read them on my Kindle. I checked them out from the library or I listened to them as audiobooks. Either way, I am considering them read because I have read them. So 6 books. So I am well ahead of the game in terms of reading off of my Kindle. So that feels really, really good. And then I gave myself a goal that I needed to read at least 2 books off of my unread shelf before I read a book from the library. I have currently read 7 books from the library. So considering that I have read 31 books off of my unread shelf, I am definitely well below the every 2 books reading a library book number. So I feel good about that as well. As of right now, I have read 59 books in total this year. That includes the books from my unread shelves, library books, new books purchased, audiobooks, Kindle books, you name it. If I read it, it is in that number. I also included books that I read a good portion of, but then ended up DNFing. So 59 is my total number. Now, I had wanted my unread books, so the books on my shelf as of January 1, to be approximately 2/3 of the books I'm reading this year, which is about 67%. I am currently at 58%, so I'm a little bit under where I would like to be in terms of reading off of my unread shelves. So I think I need to focus a little bit more on those books. But still, all in all, I feel pretty good about where I am so far, about the books that I'm reading off my unread shelves, about just getting rid of some books that I no longer am interested in reading, because why should they be sitting on my shelves if I no longer want to read them? So they can go off and be on somebody else's shelf who will love them. Now, I know I just gave you a whole bunch of statistics, and then I'm going to share with you something in a little bit that contradicts all of those statistics to a degree. But first of all, I want to share with you something that happened in March, and that was that I found myself not able to concentrate while I was reading. Every time I picked up a book, my mind was just going a mile a minute, and I was thinking ahead to all of the books that I needed to be reading, that I should be getting finished by the end of March. I felt suddenly this immense pressure to read more books and to be finished with the books that I was currently reading so that I could move on to the next books. That is not what I want my reading life to be like. Reading should be a joy. It shouldn't be a pressure to get to the next book. I should be able to immerse myself in the joy of whatever book I'm currently reading, or the sorrow of what I'm reading, or just be immersed in learning new things and living in another world or experiencing things I would never experience in my own life, not thinking about what I should be reading next. And I sat in the discomfort of that for well over a week. And then, you know how I like to talk about bookish serendipity? Well, a little bit of bookish serendipity fell into my lap, and it was incredibly helpful and helped me kind of work through what I was going through because I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. I found some videos from 2 different booktubers, and their videos really helped me hone in on what was kind of going wrong with my reading and how to correct that. First, I watched a few videos from Tristan at Tristan and the Classics. He has a fantastic channel. He is so knowledgeable about classic novels, reading in general. He's a wonderful follow. I hope you'll go over and check him out. But he has put up a few videos recently, one of which was about how to read the books you own rather than just adding more books to your shelves. That video was incredibly helpful. He had a video about how to read more classics, which I found incredibly helpful as well. And it just really got me thinking, some of the things that he shared in those videos. I will have his channel and his videos linked in the description box below if you would like to check those out. And then I watched a video by Jack at Spread Book Joy, and she just recently shared a video where she talked about bringing more joy into your reading life. And this video resonated with me so strongly. And she talked about this idea that rather than thinking about the books you have to read as this giant, lake or sea of books, just teeming with books, to think of it as a river flowing past you, and that when you are ready, you will pick out a book from this river and then you will read it. And books will be continually going past you, whether that's books that you see sitting on your own shelves, books you hear people talking about, books you see in bookstores, at the library. All of those books are just flowing past you, and you can pick and choose the books from that river that you want to read. And I just love the imagery of that. I thought that was so beautiful and really helped me to stop and think about my TBR, or just those books in the world to be read in a completely new way. Tea break. As a result of watching both Tristan and Jack's videos and then spending some time reflecting on what they had shared, on what I was currently going through, I realized that I was thinking too much about the goals of reading and not enough about the reading itself. And it got me thinking about, the goal isn't to read more. I want my reading life to be better. And better can mean whatever you want it to mean to you personally, but to me, that just means to read books that I'm loving, be immersed in those books when I'm reading them, and not worry about any of the other stuff, not worry about the books I still have to read, not worry about when I'm going to finish any particular book that I'm in the middle of reading, just to read for reading's sake is the best way that I can put it. This is my goal for the remainder of this year, to read for reading's sake. And as such, I have come up with 3, I'm going to call them tips, that I think can help you read better or read for reading's sake, rather than just to read more to reach some arbitrary goal, whatever it is that you might be trying to do with your reading life, rather than just enjoying the pleasures of reading, because that's what reading should be, right? And not that we don't want to sometimes read to learn and gather information, but I think for the most part, we want to read to enjoy and to sometimes escape the world we live in. And that's okay. That's what books are for. We live in such a fast-paced, go, 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 get on to the next thing kind of a world where productivity is rewarded. And I don't think our reading lives need to be a part of all of that. I think when we read, we want to slow things down. We want to settle in. We want to enjoy what we're doing and be in the moment of doing it. And that's not to say that you aren't going to read some books very quickly. There are lots of really quick, fast-paced books out there. I'm not saying you need to slow down your reading. I myself am a very fast reader, just in general, and I can't really prevent myself from reading at the pace that I naturally read at. But I can let go of some of the things I have been focusing on that I don't think are adding anything to my reading life. And now I'm going to share the 3 tips that I am implementing and that I thought I might share with you all because maybe 1 or 2 or all 3 of these might resonate with you as well and are things that you can incorporate into your own reading life. The first thing is that I am going to be doing less tracking of my reading. And I know this is completely counter to all of the statistics I just gave you at the beginning of this video about my Read My Shelves challenge. But the point of this is not to not track at all, because I do like to see the stats of what I've read, particularly at the end of the year. I think it's fun to go back and look at all of those, but I'm going to be doing much less tracking. So a few of the things that I am no longer going to be doing this year, I'm not going to be updating what I'm reading on Goodreads as I'm reading it. I had gotten into this very just like automatic thing where anytime I finished reading a few pages, I would go into Goodreads and I would update that book to what page I was currently on, and then it would show me what percentage I was finished with the book so far. And I have stopped that completely. So I'm not going to be doing that. In fact, I'm not even entering the books I'm currently reading into Goodreads while I'm reading them. I'm going to wait and put them in when I have finished them. And I'm also going to try to do most of my tracking in my physical reading journal because it's not as easy for me to get number statistics out of this than it is on Goodreads or in BookBuddy or on the spreadsheet that I've created. So I think most of my monthly tracking is going to happen in here. I'm just using Goodreads as a way to just quickly put in the date I finished a book so that I can go back and add all of those to my reading journal. But I'm really going to try to step away from that and not do as much tracking. And then I'm also only going to go in about once a month and update the spreadsheet that I'm keeping, which I'm tracking my Read My Shelves challenge in, rather than doing it. I was doing it once or twice a week, or if I finished a book and happened to be on my computer and thinking about it, I would just hop in there and update things. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to do it once every 4 to 6 weeks and just try to enter the information and not spend a lot of time looking and trying to process that information. So less tracking, that is the whole point. So whatever it is, however it is that you track your books, maybe consider just doing less of that as a way to remove that kind of pressure to read more, do more, finish more, whatever it is, if you are feeling that kind of pressure, as I am feeling it at the moment. The second tip I have is to not give yourself any arbitrary dates to finish the books you are reading. One of the things that I have found, both as being a part of Bookstagram and now as being a part of BookTube, is I get very much into this cycle of, oh, I need to finish these books by the end of the month. Why? Why? Well, because I need to do my monthly wrap-up, of course, but that's just silly. There's no need to finish a book by a specific date. There's no real deadline that I need to abide by. So I'm going to let go of reading month deadlines. I am just going to finish books when I finish them. I mean, obviously, if I'm reading them for something specific, for book club, for my read-alongs that I'm doing, or if I have a buddy read going on, of course, I will read those books as I need to read them for those specific events. But the books that I'm just reading for me, I'm going to read them when I read them and finish them when I finish them. And I'm considering, rather than doing a monthly wrap-up each month, that I'm just going to do a reading update. And I will share with you both the books I've finished as well as the books I am currently reading, because I often have multiple books on the go, and I just think it's kind of fun to, see what I have going on and if I happen to finish them by my next reading update or not, or if they're ending up being just a real slow read. I just think that might be something that's kind of interesting. So that might be what starts happening rather than having monthly wrap-ups. I'm just going to do a sort of monthly reading update. Yes. And then finally, and probably most importantly, is that I need to get back to reading to my moods or reading to where my current interests are taking me, rather than trying to read certain books every month to fulfill some arbitrary goals that I set for myself. So one of the things I had set for myself at the beginning of this year was to read a mystery a month, a classic a month, a book off my Kindle a month. I think I had one other, but I'm totally blanking on what it was. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna kind of let those go. And if they happen, they happen. I think I'm finding that I'm not really having any difficulties meeting those goals anyway, and I just want to be a little more organic in what books I'm picking up to read, so I'm just gonna kind of let those go. Now, there are definitely books that I want to continue on with this year, so I had wanted to read all the Mrs. Polifax books, and I'm definitely going to do that. But there might be some months when I read 3 Mrs. Polifax books, and maybe then I'll go a few weeks or a month without reading any. I don't know. I'm just going to kind of follow what I'm feeling and what I'm in the mood for. Same thing goes with reading my Agatha Christie books off of my shelf. I had set myself a goal to read 1 every month. And while I would like to get through all of the books that I have remaining on my shelf that are unread Agatha Christie's, I'm just going to read them when I feel like reading them. So I am just going to follow that river of my TBR of those 2 read books and just see where it takes me, and not look down into this giant sea of books and feel overwhelmed by it. At least that's what I'm hoping. Once again, those 3 tips are less tracking, no arbitrary reading deadlines, and read what you're interested in reading. Read for your moods. Read what feels good to you. So read what you want. Don't read what you don't want to read. And that will wrap up my Read My Shelves Challenge update, my Reading Slump update, and my tips for reading better or reading for reading's sake. I hope that you enjoyed this chatty little video where I didn't share any actual books, but just talked about my reading life. I would love to hear from you. How is your reading life going so far this year? Are you reading books off of your shelves? Have you found yourself in a reading slump at all in the first few months of this year? Do you have anything that you do in your reading life to make it easier to focus on what you are reading rather than looking ahead to what you will be reading next? I would love to chat all things general reading life in the comments below. And if you don't have anything that you'd like to add in the comments, but you would like to let me know that you were here, because comments really do help my channel. Because spring has just recently sprung and I love flowers, why don't you leave me a little flower emoji in the comments? That will just brighten up my day. Whichever flower emoji you want, or leave me an entire garden. I would love that. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you spending part of your day with me here. And an extra thanks to those of you who pushed the super thanks button on my last video. And thank you all so much for all of your kind words about my 4,000 subscriber milestone that I just hit. I have been reading through all of your comments, of which there have been so many, and it's just so lovely, this little community that we have here, and I thank you for being a part of that in whatever way you enjoy being a part of it. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, I would love to have you join my bookish community. And as always, I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye!